Good morning and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive on Spectrum Television, all the way from the beautiful hills of Ibiakeren in Gortun State at Akwa Ibom. My name is Ufoniti and I'm quite excited to be back in the screen. It's Tuesday, and you know what Tuesday is accustomed. We're talking about the UEFA Champions League. The holy grail of European football comes upon us once again this night. But before that, we'll look at what's trending over the course of yesterday and early this morning as well. The Nigerian Cricket Federation are in the news once again as the Women's T20 Invitational Tournament would kickstart very soon in Lagos. We'll also look at what's happening in the world of tennis, the Dubai Duty-Free Championships for the men, and also we'll look at the Bahrain Open for the women. We'll look at the Formula One what's trending, Manny Pacquiao and the man Floyd Money Mayweather. Then the news, a rematch is scheduled for this particular year. These and many more would form the crux of our conversation today on Sports Central. But remember, you can follow us on all social media handles. Go to Facebook, go to X, on Twitter, go to TikTok as well, and hit the follow button on Spectrum TV Live. We'll take just a quick break, and when we're back, Sports Central in full. Thanks for staying tuned. We'll start with cricket stories where the Nigeria Cricket Federation has confirmed the return of the Women's T20 Invitational Tournament, which will be held in Lagos from March 18th to 29th. Nigeria's female Yellow Greens will be joined by Ghana, Sierra Leone, Rwanda and the South African under-19 women's team at the Tafawa Balewa Cricket Oval. Ghana last featured in the tournament in 2023, while Rwanda and Sierra Leone returned for consecutive appearances. The South Africa under-19 women's team are newcomers to the tournament, which has now been expanded to 5 teams. The competition, which began as a bilateral series with Rwanda, was not held last year due to the NCF's busy calendar. And ahead of this year's tournament, the Federation has affirmed its readiness to use the competition as a high-performance platform for the team. The female Yellow Greens won the tournament for the first time in 2023 before surrendering the title to Tanzania in 2024, while Rwanda last won it in 2022. And now to tennis stories where British #1 Jack Draper said he felt really proud after making his post-injury return to action on the ATP Tour with a straight-set victory over Frenchman Quentin Halys in Dubai. Competing on the men's tour for the first time since the US Open last August, Draper won 7-6, 6-3 on his debut at the Dubai Tennis Championships. The 24-year-old, who has slipped to 15th in the world after reaching a career-high ranking of 4th in June last year, will play Hungary's Fabian Marozen or Franz Arthur Rinderknecht next. Now to report from Acapulco in Mexico. The Mexican Open organizers say the tournament will go ahead despite violence following the death of the country's most wanted drug baron, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho. He died in custody on Sunday shortly after being captured by Mexican special forces. He was seriously injured in clashes between his supporters and the army in the central western state of Jalisco on Sunday. The Mexican Open started on Monday in Acapulco, which is in Guerrero, one of 5 Mexican states where the United States government has warned its citizens to shelter because of the violence. The United Kingdom government has advised against all but essential travel to parts of Mexico in a statement, saying the supposed cancellation of the event due to security issues in Jalisco is nothing but false. Now to boxing, where boxing great Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Money Mayweather have agreed a professional rematch in September. Pacquiao, who is 47, and Mayweather, who is 48, will fight at Sphere in Las Vegas on Saturday, the 19th of September, with the bout live on Netflix. Former world champion Mayweather announced he would come out of retirement for a 4th time last week, and it will be the American's first professional bout since beating mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor with a 10th round technical knockout in 2017. Filipino Pacquiao retired from the sport to focus on his political career in 2021, but returned to the ring last July to fight WBC welterweight champion Mario Barros, who retained his title after a draw. Mayweather and Pacquiao first met in 2015 in what was billed as the fight of the century and remains the richest in boxing history. It was Mayweather who emerged victorious, beating Pacquiao via a wide unanimous decision in Las Vegas. Now on to the ever exciting sport of football, where Benjamin Sesko was Manchester United's super sub for the second match running as the Slovenian scored the only goal against Everton to send Michael Carrick's men clear in the full sport. 13 days after Sesko struck deep in injury time to rescue a point at West Ham, the forward applied a clinical first-time finish to a 71st minute counter-attack that he had started deep in his own half. Sesko kept motoring after laying a pass off to Matthias Cunha, and by the time Cunha had delivered a long pass to Brian Mbeumo, the eager Sesko had outrun Everton's defense and was on hand to stroke home his 8th goal of the season. Remarkably, only 2 of those came on the former boss Ruben Amorim, with 3 coming in Darren Fletcher's 2-game stint in interim charge and 3 under Carrick, who has now won 5 of his 6 games at the helm. It was a moment of class that was a long time in coming in a match that was low on quality at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. The result means it is now 7 home games without a win in all competitions for Everton, who sit 9th in the Premier League. And that's all we have for you on Wrap Up this morning, but the show would kickstart just after the short break. Make sure you stay glued. We'll be right back.
Hello, good morning and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you courtesy of Spectrum Television. We return this morning with a whole lot of topical issues to take a look at in the exciting world of sports. So with conversations surrounding the ongoing Niger Delta Games, as it enters another, of course, week of action with Team Akwa Ibom also amassing as many medals as they could just yesterday. More games are scheduled to go down today. I will also take a look at that this particular morning. We'll look at the NBA as well, as we had few matches that happened in the early hours of this morning. I will also take a look at the world of tennis, what's actually happening over there, especially after we saw, yes, winners across different top-level competitions over the course of last weekend. Yesterday, the Premier League game happened where Manchester United were able to get maximum 3 points to go back into the top 4 of the Premier League table. We'll also be looking at the UEFA Champions League games, the playoffs second leg games that are scheduled to go down later today, with some teams still having equal chances of qualifying to the last 16 of the UEFA Champions League this particular season. Well, I'm Mutube David and I'm so delighted to return on the show this fine morning. I'm joined by Fonny Tina. You earlier saw him, and of course together we'll be doing justice to what's happening in the exciting world of sports. Fun, a delight to do this with you.
Oh, I'm excited to be back in the best TV show talking about sports in this part of the Niger Delta. And let's talk about, I'm just looking at what happened yesterday. Manchester United finally and gradually getting closer to that top 4 spot. Almost ended in a draw for them. I think what we talked about, you know, the new managers trying to do the same thing they've been doing for 5-6 matches. Michael Carrick did that again yesterday, had to be served by Benjamin Sesko. At some point, they have to do something different. I just hope it's not too late for Michael Carrick.
Well, we'll talk about football holistically much later on the show, but let's quickly begin the conversation this particular morning with other stories, and it has to do with the world called tennis, particularly this morning. Just over the course of the weekend, we had emerging champions across different top-level competitions. But this particular morning, Jack Draper, a man who we've not heard about since the start of this year. Maybe we could also make it since the start of, I think, December last year. We couldn't hear from him due to injury worries. The man returned back to top-level competition, making a winning return to tour after injury. Well, the British #1 was able to, of course, get past his opponent in straight set. And I'm talking about Frenchman Quentin Halys in the Dubai Tennis Championship. He was competing for the first time since he last appeared on tour, yes, in the US Open last year, August. The man won 7-6, 6-3 on his debut in the Dubai Tennis Championship. Well, at some point last year, he was actually in the top 5 of the ATP rankings. Maybe you could also make that sometime last year, June. But at the moment, Jack Draper is currently world number 15. And that's also due to the fact that he's also been inactive in the large parts of last year and, of course, the start of this particular year. The man is looking forward to making a very big statement, particularly after returning back from injury. For over time, when we see players like this, you know, try to return and, of course, try to build up what they did last year, or maybe before they were even injured, there are always conversations about whether or not you would see that same momentum from those players, you know, coming back. But this time around, Jack Draper, yes, first win for him since returning back from injury. Many would say maybe the quality of the opponent not big enough, but are we envisaging the Jack Draper we saw last year, who stayed large parts of last year in the top 5 of the ATP rankings once again?
Well, I would say it's going to be difficult for Jack Draper. You know, at a point, he was doing what fans expected from Cameron Norrie. Remember, the British contingent, since Andy Murray, have not had, you know, a superstar who's reached that height yet. Cameron Norrie tried to break the ceiling, but at the point, it wasn't possible for him. And Jack Draper came busting through the scenes as a young star and was doing quite well. Last year was very, very good for him, just like you mentioned. Reached world number 4 status in June, and a lot of us were expecting him to make it to the ATP finals at the end of the year, but that injury came knocking towards the tail end of last year, August to be precise, and now he's made a comeback in February. I just don't want to put too much pressure on this man, because I feel he has to take it gradually, because we've seen the superstars come back from injury. talking about women coming back from maternity leave or just a break from tennis, is never always the same for them. Yes, maybe over the course of time, they might be able to get back to their status, but at that early stage of returning, it's always going to be very difficult for the superstars. So for Jack Draper, I think it's just going to be step after step, taking those baby steps, not, really expecting much from him when it gets to top competitions, the WTA 1000, the ATP Masters and all of that. Just maybe get those little tour level wins and build his confidence right up there, because no matter what you want to say, once you get injured, you're never ever 100% fit. You still have that problem in you, just that it's been resolved a little bit. So I'm not expecting Jack Draper to be the 2025 Jack Draper. So that was a very, very, very consistent Jack Draper. I'm expecting him to try to grind his way back, maybe closer to that level. Then we'll see if we're able to get back the 2025 Jack Draper. So, but yesterday, a good performance for him. Quentin Harles had to take him through the ring, especially in the first set, 7-6. When you see 7-6, you know it's very close. But he was able to come back in the second set and get something more handy for himself. Let's see how far he can go in this particular competition.
Well, of course, a very big conversation as regards to Jack Draper and his quality, especially after returning back from injury. We're looking forward to see what happens now. Can the man who is currently ranked number 15 in the ATP rankings do better and maybe return back to the top 4, or maybe he could also make that top 5 of the ATP rankings as competitions also unfolds. We'll look forward to where he ends in the Dubai Championship. Still in the Dubai Championship, Felix Auger-Aliassime converted 6 match points in the Dubai opener of this particular one as well. Well, for Nakuriko, I think Felix Auger-Aliassime has already made it to the final of a top-level competition this year.
I think I was Rotterdam.
Well, unfortunately, couldn't win it. I could recall that as well. But this is another competition for him and one to also look forward to. I think one standout factor would be about the fact that many young stars are actually involved in the Dubai Tennis Championship. As regards what we saw at the Aussie Open, and it might just be a revolution, competition for one of them. Jack Draper is one of the, man we've talked about, and now Felix Auger-Aliassime, part of the conversation.
Well, I would say for Auger-Aliassime, just you can't really call him a young star. I think he's 28 or 26. Is that about? He's not really young anymore. You won't compare him to the likes of Carlos Alcaraz. Is 22. But
if you also look at, of course, the quality or maybe the age grade of players who are at the Dubai Championship, maybe also look at him in that particular manner, because we've not really had some top players, be part of it as well.
So I expect Auger-Aliassime to do quite well, and his next opponent is Mpechi Perikat, who is 24, very young as well. So I think it's a competition where we might just likely see a young, superstar, just like you've mentioned, winning, because the early competitions of the year we had the big boys coming. I think Alexander Zverev is here. I'm not really sure, but I think he's here.
He's here.
So it's going to be one of those competitions where we've got to have someone outside the block, outside the top names winning it. I would like Alexander Zverev to win it, because a bulk of his wins are always coming in competitions like this. ATP 500, maybe a few ATP 100. He's never been able to win a Grand Slam, but he's been able to get most of those wins in the maybe low-level competition. So I'm expecting him to give this one a huge chase. But for Auger-Aliassime, it's all about trying to stay consistent. He had to serve 6 match points in his last match. That means he had to really delve deep into his reserves to get that particular win. Mpechi Perikat is a step ahead of his previous opponent, so he has to raise his game if he intends to get past Mpechi Perikat. But I expect I know Auger-Aliassime, I know his quality. I've seen the man over the years now, so I expect him to go as far as possible in the Dubai Duty-Free Championships.
Well, another man was Stan Wawrinka, who was able to do well. An aging Stan Wawrinka who has also...
Last year as well.
Last year? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I could recall when, of course, he had his first top-level competition this year. He was knocked out. And that also was his last in that particular, top level. But now, he's still doing, of course, some level of top-level competitions as well. And the man earned his 6th consecutive opening round victory in Dubai just yesterday as well. We do not know where he will end right here, but at the moment, it looks all rosy for the aging Stan Wawrinka in this particular one as well. The Mexican Open is also up and running. Keeps in shock 2-time champion Alex de Minaur in the Acapulco Open. Well, I do not know what happened to Alex de Minaur, because this is not, of course, a very top name, as a matter of fact. Brandon Nakashima as well in the Mexico Open. Yes, he's into 2nd round victory as a matter of fact. Another man who was also part of the conversation yesterday was 2025 finalist. I talk about Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. The man got past Altmaier and into the second round of the Mexican Open. Defending Marina finalist Arango scored first win of 2026, and that happened against Potapova in this one. Still talking about the Merida Open, Katie Bolter notched 6 straight win with Beatrice Haddad-Meyer in Merida as well. No, not so often you get to talk about, British contingent, especially the WTA scene, do better for themselves. But just before we talk about the world of boxing, let's quickly touch down on the ongoing Niger Delta Games, where yes, Team Akwa Ibom has yesterday amassed about 29 medals at the ongoing second Niger Delta Games, with conversations surrounding about 6 gold medals won by the contingent, about 8 silver medals, and of course 15 bronze medals also being amassed by, of course, Team Akwa Ibom. There are so many games still scheduled to go down much later today. But this is a big improvement from what we saw yesterday. Yesterday we didn't have up to, I think, 25 medals, but now 29, and just a few away from maybe making it 30-something before the end of today. And just like we said yesterday, it looks progressional for Team Akwa Ibom in the 60 kg. They talk about weightlifting. We'll talk about, of course, track and field, 500-meter even, and the rest of them. They have also been able to pick medals, and might just look at having a youngster who may just likely go out from here to represent the state, even at continental competitions. But good way, 29 medals so far for Team Akwa Ibom.
Yeah, I would say good for Akwa Ibom and good for those young stars as well. Just like you've said, I think we're in this Commonwealth period. A lot of these athletes...
Yeah, they were preparing for the Commonwealth Games.
They're preparing for the Commonwealth Games. So we might just get to see an Akwa Ibom athlete get to represent Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games. But there's something I have, I'm not really comfortable with. Yesterday we had Sika Basiakpan on the show. He's saying, no, we are not competing for the top 3. Maybe we can finish 4th, maybe we can finish 5th. I think that's the mindset that's keeping Akwa Ibom away from getting into competition. What's Delta doing that we're not doing? Start doing it. What's Bielsa doing that we are not doing? Start doing it.
He made mention, of course, facilities.
Exactly.
Over time when we have the National Sports Festival, that's always been those states, Delta states, Lagos, and then the rest, Rivers, and the rest of them before you even have Akwa Ibom. So maybe that's also a typical example of here, because those two, states are also participating here. Team Delta, Team Edo are also here in the Niger Delta Games.
Exactly, which is why I'm saying whatever you see those people doing, you do it as well. Akwa Ibom is one of the richest states in Nigeria. We look at allocation, federal allocation. I don't even want to go into that, that's politics. But at the end of it, I don't see anything that Delta State are doing which would be impossible for Akwa Ibom State to do. Just get those facilities. It's not that expensive. If Delta State could have it, why can't the Akwa Ibom State have it? That's just it. So I feel in the next years to come, before we'll start, we'll get into the national games, national youth games, and all of that. That one, Akwa Ibom State is not even in the top 10. We're talking about the Niger Delta Games now. When we get into the national youth games, most times Akwa Ibom State would go there, would have maybe just 10 medals because we don't have the facilities to train our athletes. I feel we're capable of doing more. Akwa Ibom State is a state where sports is really taken seriously. From where I come from, I see a lot of young men who unfortunately cannot go to school and they have to resort to sport. Most of them athletics, most of them football, but they have no one to push them. They have no one to, give them what is needed to go as far as possible in those sports. So I feel Akwa Ibom has got the potential. It's all reliant, the Commissioner of Sport, the Governor of the state, and every administrative officer that has to do with sports in these states. Do the right thing and we'll start reaping the right results.
Do the right thing and we will start reaping the right results is a very big conversation. We're looking forward to what Team Akwa Ibom would potentially do before the end of today. Different sports, particularly as it has to do with, the growth of the states in sports development, and how they will be able to translate this development to winning more laurels, especially for the states as well. But let's quickly look at the world of boxing, where one man has been making headlines in the last couple of days, and I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather. It actually started when he emphatically stated he will unretire and return back to the ring to face one man, and of course, and I'm talking about a man who's also quite a big, name, particularly in the world of boxing. Talk about Mike Tyson in an exhibition match. We hear that exhibition bout will take place sometime in April, but just this particular morning, we also hear that the man is looking forward to fight a Filipino, the man Manny Pacquiao, in another bout slated for sometime in September. That means 2 bouts for the man Floyd Mayweather already this particular year. Well, many have actually asked conversations away from money. What exactly is Floyd Mayweather looking for? Because you look at the aging Floyd Mayweather, look at the very fact that the quality we have now in world boxing and where he left off boxing back in the UCS may not actually be at Semper in terms of quality anymore. Is it about just returning to enjoy, boxing, or just returning to make a big statement, especially against older top boxers who've also find it quite good to return back to the ring?
When you say, take away money, Floyd has money attached to his name. He calls himself Floyd Money Mayweather. It's all about
so
the money.
Could it be the money attraction returning back?
Definitely. The fight against Pacquiao in 2015 was the richest at that time. He broke all the gates possible when it has to do with boxing, the viewership. People were right there at the stadium watching them fight and everything. I think that was the richest of that time. So when you look at it, Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao would always be one of the best. It's just a little sad that they're coming now. Pacquiao is 47, he's a politician in the Philippines. He's a senator, he's in the parliament. Talking about Floyd Mayweather, who is now into coaching. He has a boxing agency where he has other people on name like Shakur Stevenson, who is fighting currently. And now, I think both of them, they're just out there for the money, because you cannot expect a 48 and 47-year-old man to give you a very exciting boxing match. It's not going to be possible. Both of them don't have the cardio anymore. They don't have that strength. So it's just all about the money for them. Maybe a good way to stay fit for both men. Just like Pacquiao now is a politician, probably he's not really had time to hit the gym and all of that. So a good opportunity for him now to stay fit. But Pacquiao against Mayweather, they would always go down as one of the greats when it comes to boxing.
Both, of course, boxers are over 40, and we're looking forward to these particular bouts. It has also been speculated that the bout against Mike Tyson might just happen on the continent of Africa, though we haven't really had, of course, a clearer picture as regards whether or not that would go down as initially planned. But when we have, real confirmations, we'll also let you know as well. But the man, the result, is returning back to the ring, and it looks like he's very serious about his intentions of getting the better of his opponent. Well, away from that to the world of basketball, the National Basketball Association in the United States of America, the San Antonio Spurs got their 41st win of the season with 114 to 103 points win against the Detroit Pistons. They're already on a 9-match winning streak. Talk about the San Antonio Spurs, and Victor Wembanyama is also a big name for the side. He amassed double figures of points this particular morning. As a matter of fact, many are also looking at him as the face of the Spurs. And just even when they had some trade deals where they brought in some quality to, partner with the man Victor Wembanyama to do better, the man still, of course, is shining and outshining other opponents and even his teammates as well. And many are also looking at the very fact that maybe it could also be sports season. First, we're also looking at maybe the possibilities of qualifying to the playoffs. And from there, we can actually talk about, the intentions of challenging for the NBA title. But do you look at the Spurs as one of the title challengers this season, despite what they have been able to do in this regular season?
Well, I think enough time has passed. We are halfway through the season already. I think the Spurs have definitely got credentials to win the NBA title at the end of the season, because what they've been able to do, they've not got as many wins as the Oklahoma City Thunder, but they're right there. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I think 45 or 46 wins thereabout. The Spurs not far behind with 41. And we've got the big Detroit Pistons as well, massive wins. So when you beat a top team like this, what they call them, the San Antonio Spurs, they are the only team who've got 4 wins over the Oklahoma City Thunder this season. So it shows that they are a top team. They defeated the Lakers as well, defeated the Celtics as well, they defeated the Pistons. Those are top teams in the NBA this season. So when you look at it, you ask yourself which team can actually hold the own against the Spurs when it gets to the playoff. I don't really see. So for me, I'm going to make my early pitch now, just like I did last season with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Spurs are definitely title contenders. They've got those credentials. Victor Wembanyama, as long as he stays fit, as long as he stays fit, because we know he's had that issue of getting injured. He's already gotten injured twice this season. So if he can stay fit for the San Antonio Spurs, I don't see anything stopping them from winning the title this particular season.
Well, we're looking forward to what happens for the Spurs side this particular season. They have been, so far, one of the best sides in the regular season. It's been a best season in the last 3 years, and that shows you the progress of the Spurs side in this particular season of the NBA. The Rockets defeated the Utah Jazz 125 points to 105 points for their 35th win of the season. Looks like the Rockets are also somewhere there in terms of, trying to amass points. But last season, the Rockets were nowhere near, this margin. At some point, at this point last season, they were nowhere near 35 points. But it looks like when the old guards are actually falling off, the LA Lakers, the Sacramento Kings, and the rest of other teams, the 76ers, other teams who were not as top as possible, as maybe one could also imagine, are actually stepping up and they're doing better now.
Well, I think the match against the Jazz for me is just you can't lose against the Jazz.
Usually, when you lose against the Jazz, then it is very questionable.
Exactly.
But for the fact that a Rocket team has 35 wins this season is impressive.
Very impressive, I must say. And I think the Rockets are also, they'll definitely make it to the playoffs. That's sure. The question is, would they be able to hold down against the top teams? The Spurs that I mentioned, the Pistons that I mentioned, the Lakers as well, top teams. I think the Lakers have got 37 wins or thereabouts. So these are still top teams. For the Rockets, they're still in there. I think they've got Kevin Durant in the side. They used to Rockets. So that's an added advantage for them. Kevin Durant, an old guard, still doing it, just like we've seen LeBron James with the Lakers doing it. We've seen Steph Curry with the Warriors doing it. So I think this season we've seen a lot of old men stepping up, and Kevin Durant has been doing that for the Houston Rockets, giving them this number of wins. Let's see what they can do at the playoffs.
We're looking forward to what happens now. More games are expected to go down much later tomorrow, and we'll also, of course, talk about all of these games as it comes as well. But we'll, of course, hit the brakes right here. When we return, we'll definitely be looking at football conversations with updates from our national team camp and talk about the Super Eagles. And then we'll also look at other conversations that is set to go down, especially in the UEFA Champions League later tonight. Do stay with us. Welcome back. It is your Sports Central right here. Quickly straight to the world of football. We start off the conversation with the Super Eagles of Nigeria, where Nigeria Super Eagles, we here will open camp for the Four Nation Invitational Tournament. Yes, in Jordan on March 24 is the day slated for, the camp to be set open for the Super Eagles. Yes, Eric Chell's side will take on Iran's team Mali in their opening fixture at the Amman International Stadium on Friday, 27 March. It is an invitational tournament, as a matter of fact, and most of these teams Nigeria will be playing against are also using the games as preparatory games ahead of the World Cup that is slated for later this year. They will face Jordan as well at the same venue 4 days later. And the tournament is expected to provide the Super Eagles with valuable competitive action ahead of the qualifiers for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Well, and for now, we're no longer looking at the World Cup, though many Nigerians are still looking forward to the verdicts involving DR Congo. But this is an invitational tournament that many are also thinking that Eric Sekuchel, if there is any player he has in mind to, of course, integrate him to the Super Eagles, then games like this, tournaments like this, offers him that best opportunity to invite and, of course, introduce players to the national team level?
I think Eric Sekuchel is a manager who's not really had time to do all those experiments. He was thrown right into the fray. You know, when he came in, we had big competitions, we had big qualifiers to play, so it's not really had time to test, you know, different players apart from the Unity Cup. So this is another opportunity for him. So I would be playing against 3 different nations. So
Absolutely.
that gives him the chance to try different players. Doesn't have. We don't want to see Victor Osimhen against Jordan. Come on, why are we looking at that? We don't want to see Ademola Lookman. Bring those players, the likes of Olakunle Olusegun. He's invited the man a few times. Tochukwu Nadi should be able to play. Salim Lawal Fago should be able to play this kind of matches. So we want to see these new players that, you know, he's been inviting time and time again. Let's see what they've got to offer. So that when we get to other competition, because we might likely not see Nigeria in action at the World Cup, and after that, the next competition will be qualifiers for the AFCON, another huge competition. So by then, we should be able to know who have a plan B for Eric Sekuchel. That was one of the biggest questions that happened at the last concluded AFCON. You know, when we had Wilfred Ndidi out with that, was it an injury?
Yeah.
We had Victor Osimhen out. What if those kind of things happen? What happens if Ademola Lookman gets injured? We need to know that there are players who can take over from this particular player. So, just like the Unity Cup, you know, introduced Benjamin Fredericks to Nigeria, I'm expecting this particular tournament to bring out maybe 2-3 different players that would catch the eye of Nigerians and also maybe earn the trust, because it's all about earning the trust. If you don't earn the trust of Nigerians, no matter what happens, anytime you put in that match day squad, Nigerians will ask questions. Why is this human being here? That's the thing. Benjamin Fredericks shown at the Unity Cup, and when he was finally integrated into the men's squad, Nigerians were not asking that question. They knew what the man was capable of. So I expect nothing less from Eric Sekuchel when it comes to this particular tournament.
Well, we're looking forward to what happens for Eric Sekuchel and the boys now. They have to, you know, if there is any window to integrate players, then it has to do with this invitational tournament, just like Fon have rightly made mention of. Many would also say, since the departure of national team captain, talk about William Troost-Ekong from the national team. Yeah, many would say Benjamin Fredericks also offers a better opportunity. But Semi Ajayi is also aging, and that's why we've also had recurring injuries for the man in recent times, and to a large extent, we need more players at the national team as well. But let's quickly move away and, of course, talk about the latest international ranking of club sides involving, yes, the Nigeria Premier Football League. Well, according to, of course, the IFFHS, that's the International Federation of Football History and Statistics, the English Premier League is ranked world #1. That's the best league in the world. But then I would, of course, not really go through all of the numbers, but the Nigeria Premier Football League is ranked 91st position in the latest global rankings released by this particular body. African leagues, you know, dominance have had the likes of the Egyptian league, the Moroccan league also doing better than Nigeria, both on the continental stage, even when we talked about this sometime last month, and even on the international stage as well. But Nigerian league is still a major call for concern. Egyptian league, Moroccan league, and the South African leagues have strengthened continental influence, and that's why they're a little better than Nigeria at the global stage. And just like we've always mentioned, for this is actually a wake-up call that Nigeria Premier Football League have to do better. Many are saying we have to, of course, bring in more reforms to the MPFL to make it better. But then again, it looks like these African teams that have been doing better than Nigeria in terms of bettering their leagues, it should also be a big call for Nigeria to also improve theirs as well.
I really don't like talking about the MPFL because it puts me at the risk of sounding like a broken record, because I keep going over the same thing over and over again. We know what we need to do in the MPFL. We know what we need to do. The administrative officers know what they need to do. The league board, they know what they need to do. The club sides, the chairman, they know what they need to do. So all they've got to do is put those right things in. I'm not going to mention them again. I'm tired of it. But at the MPFL deserves where they are. I think 91st is even. How many leagues do we have in the world? I would like to know. So I don't know how many people we are above them. So I can go and investigate, because I feel some people under us might even be above us. We might not know. So I just hope maybe in the coming years, 5 years from now, we get to see the MPFL in a different light.
We're looking forward to what happens in the Nigeria Premier Football League as regards massive development and also re-strategizing the league to make it better than what it is at the moment. Straight now into the English Premier League. We had a game yesterday at the Hill Dickinson Stadium where Everton, under the tutelage of David Moyes, were looking forward to make it a league double over Manchester United. If you recall, the first game at Old Trafford, they were able to get the better of United. Back then, it was under Ruben Amorim's tutelage, where with one man down, Everton were able to get the better of United. But this time, Benjamin Sesko came off the bench in the 71st minute to score, and that was a difference between Michael Carrick's boys and David Moyes' side. And with that victory, they are back now to the top 4 of the English Premier League, 3 points better than Chelsea and Liverpool, who are also challenging for the top 4 spots, and 3 points below Aston Villa, who are number 3 in the English Premier League table. A sigh of relief for United now under Michael Carrick's tutelage. It has been wins upon wins and just one draw since he was appointed.
Well, usually I don't want to get carried away with the victory, but looking at that performance yesterday, some would say yes, at the point United were not in trouble, but in the second half, Everton asked a lot of questions, especially with those corner kick routines, which is a story for another day, because I would like to understand why.
It looks like it's a new setup of corner routine, or even set piece.
I don't like it.
Arsenal started it.
Yes.
And now we're actually seeing other
even in
teams.
the Champions League, I watched the game where I saw that particular routine.
Other teams are doing it as well. I saw a post brought up by Kobe Mano after that game, and I was actually laughing. He likened the corner kick routine to a particular WrestleMania bouts that we usually see. but it's not making sense anymore.
Doesn't make sense
Trying to
anymore.
make the goalkeeper uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's taken away from the sport. It's making it more physical. It shouldn't be so. This is football, not rugby. I think FIFA has to look into that. They're looking into, keeping injured player out of the pitch for 1 minute. I think they should also look into this, because it's not really nice to the eye. Because what if you score from that? We've got 3 players putting pressure on the goalkeeper, trying to push him inside the net, so that he's not able to make the save. So it doesn't really make sense. But for Manchester United, just like I said yesterday, Leandro Jr. started well for Chelsea, but he kept doing the same thing over and over again. Brett Cole Palmer on the wings for the first few matches, it worked, but at the end of it, it's not working anymore. Why not revert to what was working? That's it. Now, the man, Michael Carrick, he's been playing Brandon Boema as a number 9. That man is not a number 9. Come on. Yesterday, United had no presence whatsoever in the box. Amad Diallo could not put in those crosses. Matthews could not put in those crosses. So all they had to do was just rely on luck to try to see if they could break the defense. But as soon as Benjamin Sesko came in, you could see the box presence. I think Michael Carrick has to learn. Some matches you play Benjamin Sesko, some matches you can play a false 9. It's called a false 9 for a reason. It's not a real number 9. That's why it's called a false 9. So these new coaches, that's what Kiro going to soldier. Started playing McFred, that's McTominay and Fred, and all of a sudden wanted to die on that hill. Okay. You need to be able to be diversified, because when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, coaches will find you out.
Well, of course, we'll definitely have more of that conversation about the new corner kick routine. It would be a different discussion for another day extensively. We hear FIFA, just like in front of Matt mentioned, FIFA wants injured players to stay off on the sidelines for treatment up to 1 minute before they're introduced back to play. Well, the Premier League actually, have a timeline for players who are being treated on the sidelines. That's 30 seconds. If you are treated on the sidelines, you should stay 30 seconds before returning back to play. But now, it looks like FIFA are writing to IFAB and say, come on, we have to change this rule. We have to make it 1 minute and not 30 seconds as it should be. Champions League games returns to Atletico Madrid against Club Brugge, Inter Milan against Bordeaux and Glimt, Newcastle against Karabakh, where Newcastle have a 5-goal advantage over Karabakh at the St. James's Park tonight, while Bayer Leverkusen have got a 2-goal advantage over Olympiacos much later today. But the game of concern for would be Atletico Madrid against Club Brugge. Both club sides play 3-3 in the first leg, and there is also play for later tonight.
Definitely, I think Diego Simeone would have to get his starting 11 right, because that's been the problem for him in the past few games, interchanging those players. Today starting Griezmann and Soloff, tomorrow starting Griezmann and Ademola Lookman. Tomorrow is just different. It doesn't help the consistency. It doesn't help the synergy between these players. So today I'm going to be looking out for the first 11 who starts the game. Then I'll know if Atletico Madrid can progress or not.
Bordeaux and Glimt are also having a 2-goal advantage over Inter Milan. Can they overcome? Can Inter Milan overturn the deficit in front of their home fans? Would be a big conversation for tonight. But we draw the curtains here. We hear that Ruben Loftus-Cheek will be out for around 8 weeks with a broken jaw. That's, of course, very, very sad for the English international. We wish him speedy recovery after the man underwent surgery just yesterday. Thank you very much, Yvonne, for being part of the show this morning.
Pleasure as always.
We'll return tomorrow. Definitely, we'll also be dissecting what's happening at the Niger Delta Games, as well as the Champions League games that would go down later tonight. Thank you very much for also joining, and have a fabulous day. Bye for now.